Have you seen this video where the Fulani Chihuahua, aka female Gumi of Nigeria, is telling us the areas of Fulani conquest in Nigeria in different states?
Of course, when you see a sleeping lion sleeping, it looks that is fought against the existence of Fulanis in Nigeria. As we all know, in the past, the Fulanis were considered the most peaceful tribes in Nigeria. They were down to earth, they were friendly, they were very humble. But what happened to the Fulani of today? Of course, when you see a sleeping lion sleeping, it looks innocent. But when you wake it up and seem like a threat to it, it will show you its true nature as a king of the jungle. The Fulanis today have been looked down on every aspect of life, seen commonly as what you call Fulanis. Fulanis, they behave like animal. Fulanis, those ones, they don't have any good life to live. There is no human that's created on this earth that does not have his right to existence, his right to his culture, and his right to live his life however he wants. Now we have so much stereotyped the Fulanis for a very long time, and today it backfires back, and we are all crying woof. Now, the question, how did we even maltreat the Fulanis? Remember that Fulani that you said was a fool? That you said when you go to the corner, you're going to hijack him, beat him up, and collect his cow. Remember that Fulani never forgot. Remember the Fulani girl who was wearing just singlet and wrapper and was walking around the street, very humble, very simple, who trusted everyone, that you seized her money and you refused to, that you took her drink and you refused to pay? Or that lady that you hijacked in one corner and molested because she looked so helpless? Today, we have touched the people who have been silent for so long, and they have become a monster for our society. The Fulani life matters. The Fulani culture matters. The Fulani existence needs to be recognized in Nigeria. Fulani is not just a tribe that is located in northern part of Nigeria. There is no law in the world that says you stay in a place for over 200 years and you do not claim the ownership of that land. How did our forefathers get the land in the first place? Did they buy it from the creator? Today, the land we call ours were just migration routes. They were migration routes where our forefathers passed, they claimed the land, and today they became our own. And then we say, okay, this is my land and this is my culture. The Fulanis have been roaming around Africa for a very long time, and a lot of them have settled in places all over this country. We have Fulanis that are indigenous to Kwara, we have Fulanis that are indigenous to Kogi, we have Fulanis that are indigenous to the eastern part of Nigeria in places like Enugu. We have Fulanis that are indigenous to almost all the states in Nigeria. Why do we suddenly don't see them? Why do we now attribute them to Islam? The Fulanis that move around, that have been moving around from Africa, around Africa, were not actually attributed to any religion. They were just people who herded their cattle as a lifestyle. Now, why do we need to look at the Fulani issue? The question is that our lifestyle? Is that our lifestyle? Says the enemies of Nigeria, who will tell you that the Fulani lifestyle is supposed to be looked down on, relegated, and not appreciated. Of course, because you are not exposed. That's why you looked at it. You look at it as something to be looked down on. Now, when you talk about Kenya and a visual representation of Kenya's culture around the world, you cannot look at Kenya without taking a big look at the Maasai tribe. What the Maasai tribe represents nomadic herders. Of course, they're not Fulani, but they are somehow related, and they are not even Muslims. We need to accept the existence of the Fulani because they're not just a group of people we can trash out. They're humans and they deserve to live their lives the way they want.
I hate to pick on religion because I see it as your prerogative, as long as you are keeping it to yourself and not making it my problem. But finding out that people of Islamic religion also lie, even when they always appear to be like angels who does not commit sin. Listen to this woman. They can lie. You made a claim that Fulanis were the most peaceful people in Nigeria, and you made a reference of a sleeping lion that was disturbed, and now it has risen up. That is, in this context, whatever you are saying is a non sequitur, because your explanation of Fulani has no historic background that is connected to Fulanis as we know it, written or orally told. Are the Fulanis really peaceful at all? 18th century. What brought about the conquest that colonized the Hausa people, or that conquered the Hausa people? 18th century. Who is Uthman Dan Fodio? And what does your history say about Uthman Dan Fodio? And don't forget, she said that God gave them the land. They have been there for more than 200 years. Who told you that when you steal somebody's land for 200 years, it becomes yours? Because you unalived them to steal it. You did not just settle in such land peacefully, yet you carried out jihad on Hausa people. Hausa people were the original owners of the land, indigenous people, before your arrival, you began a religious reformism in the name that the Hausa people, the owners of the land, were sinful, that you need to reform them in a way that they will be bent to your will or to your quote-unquote religion. Yet you lie to say that you guys were peaceful people, sleeping lion that was disturbed by Nigerians. That's why you guys have become a terrorist, terrorizing the whole country, and you are proud of it. You are proud that you kidnap children, torture them in front of their parents, whilst also torturing their parents in front of the children. You are proud that you guys unalive people in the most hideous way with impunity. You are proud of. Do you now see the reason why I demonize the activities of Fulanis at all time unequivocally? Because they are not remorseful. They are all in it together. This is 21st century, the time of artificial intelligence, fourth industrial revolution. A woman like you came behind the camera talking a lot of lies that is accessible on internet for children, everybody that is interested to know. Yet unequivocally you are lying in front of the camera, and you have the audacity to post it to a public domain. You should be ashamed of yourself. If this is what Islam is, I will never associate myself with it, because they make a claim that Islam is the most perfect religion. Hence they are pushing to bend everyone into joining the religion. Lastly, Fulanis were never peaceful, but they were helpless. They were pastoralists. They were like slaves. We used to see them, we used to give them money out of the goodness of our heart. When they actually were moving from places to places in the eastern region begging, we accepted these people. We never knew that they were devil in human form. We never knew that they will be used to oppress Nigeria or the indigenous people to the point that we have no direction. The activities of Nigeria and their politicians eventually became a scalar quantity. It has no direction, because the Fulanis are kept in the front, piloting a plane that they barely knew how to start.
They will impose their rule under the banner of Islamic, just to ethnic cleanse you and take over your land if you did not resist them. Those of you that don't know the story of Borno, especially some of my brother in Middle Bena, because of Una, they make this video. Mind you, our ancestor too, and from Benue State, resist this group of people. But we, this generation, we dey sleep. That is why I want to remind you now with this story of Borno State. When Uthman Danfodio, Sokoto jihadists start swallowing kingdom, Borno face the same threat. But there is one respected Shehu from Borno that resists these jihadist people the most. Because when Danfodio wanted to come into Borno, he wanted to use Muslim as a means of coming to gain his ground in Borno. But a Muslim man, Shehu from that Borno state, he resisted him and opened the mind of his people. His name is Shehu Momodu Al-Amin Al-Kanimi, with the pronunciation. This Shehu stood his ground and opened the mind of his people, telling his people that the agenda of Danfodio is not for the love and betterment of Borno, but is to take over Borno State. Do you know what Al-Amin did? He did not just educate his people. He formed alliance with other regions to fight against Danfodio and his army. He was educating people, letting people to know that you being a Muslim does not mean somebody will impose his own ideology on you, all in the name of Islam. He said jihadist is a license to conquer Muslims that did not have the same ideology with Danfodio. He let them know that the kind of practice that Danfodio is practicing, that is calling Islam, that is different than their own. He went ahead and said you cannot impose your ideology or your rule on us under the umbrella of Islam. He said it will not work. Shehu Muhammad Al-Amin mobilized his people, form alliance, educate a lot of people, and they fight against Danfodio. They resist them and push them away. It was a battle that people of Borno can never forget. That is how jihadists was resist till date in that land. But now they've been perpetrating stylishly because of the children of these days are coward and we are easily distracted. That is why you go see a lot of different kind of tigru for Borno state. Any region we don't resist these people before, where they come see say the region they lose guard, they go come in another form. These jihadist extremists, they are never tired. Likewise, when we resist them in Benue state, when thief unalive Danfodio, when he was pushing his jihadist agenda to our region, what happened? The people of these days are weak. Now they are using another means to conquer that same land where we resist them then. When we say now we even buy Danfodio for Osongu Hill. But now the children of nowadays, they now buy them with money, propaganda, and entertainment. So Middle Belter, for them to conquer you, they will always label you as Arewa. For them to conquer you, they will always buy your government and traditional rulers with money. For them to conquer you, they will always call you one with them. But behind that oneness, they buy your people. For them to buy you, they will always come disguised under the umbrella of Islam. That is why most of you, we choose Islam first over humanity and your region. But that is not how they practice religion. If we this generation did not start behaving like our forefather, they go take over our land. You see that it's very important for those of us that know. Let's start educating our people, just the way Muhammad Al-Ami Shehu did. And we should not say no in forming alliances with other regions, not with Arewa anyway. Those three things we Middle Belter need them. That is why sometimes if I call Igbo people, no be say I won't make myself Igbo. But no matter how we be, Middle Belter need alliance with other region wey no be Arewa.
Are you aware that Fulanis are the only people in Nigeria that travel to other people's states where they are not originally from? Although Fulanis are all foreigners in Nigeria, there are no any indigenous Fulani in Nigeria. They are the only one that go to other states, settle there, become an indigene, and eventually take over political power. They are the only one that can do it. No any other tribe in Nigeria is capable of doing that except Fulanis. And that is how they have strategically taken over states and continue to take over states. Now, the northern Christians you can see, even though they were deceived by their forefathers to stand against Igbo, Fulani convinced them that Igbos are dominating them, Igbos are this, Igbos are that. And they created a phantom called Arewa, and they created a phantom language, an Arewa language called Hausa, and all of them bought into it. And what Fulani did was that he successfully used both Hausa and Arewa as an imaginary political geopolitics to be able to enable them have some kind of control over Nigerian politics. They used it to deceive them. And the deception was that they made them believe that the Igbos are a threat to them. And Igbos are majority Christians. And the people who are in the forefront of military leadership in the north are Christians because of missionary schools in the north. Now, do you know what they did? They convinced these folks, the Fulanis convinced them to turn against the Igbos. They used them to overthrow Igbo and knock them out of military, kill all the officers. Even when Aguiyi, when he took over, he was sympathetic to northern Christians. There are a lot of colonels, lieutenant colonels, commodores who were Igbos. Yet he didn't choose them. He went and choose low-ranking Yakubu Gowon and low-ranking Tahiru Danjuma as Christians to bring them close to him. And they were warning him about this. He didn't want to listen. That these people are not thinking in your likeness in terms of Christianity. They are not thinking that way. They are thinking in terms of Arewa. We the Fulani has convinced them and their forefathers. They were the one that killed Inosi. Even though he gave them unfair and unqualified positions in his government, they were the one that killed him. Not only they killed him, this non-Christian, they wiped out over 300 senior Igbo army officers in the military. And eventually, when they are finished doing the job for Fulani took over from them, and today they are suffering. they are dealing with them. They can't smell political office. Even when they are not smelling political office, they believe that they are part of Arewa, and then anytime Arewa gets it, it's them that get it. And Arewa being in power is them that are in power. Whereas they are not smelling any power anywhere. They never smell it. They can't be vice president. They can't be president. And it's systematic. Not only that, do you know what Fulani did to them? Fulani now, all the major ethnic groups in the north, Fulani had decimated them, scattered them to complete oblivion. The first one is Hausa. They scattered Hausa. Hausa doesn't have any identity. They don't have any hold. It's no more an ethnic block. Then look at Bagi. They scattered Bagi in 4 states. Bagi doesn't have any identity. Come to Nasarawa state. You see, Fulani is ruling Nasarawa state, and there is smallest minority. The Christian-dominated Kwadoma people have never tested power. That is what I've been repeating and repeating the cycle. Now, after they use them to be able to put Igbo down, who are the only opposition Fulani have in Nigeria, they now started cutting them down. Now they are killing them and taking over their lands. The Christians in the north have no foothold, no political unity, no political bloc. Their ethnicities have been scattered. They don't have any ethnic bonding or any ethnic political bloc. They do not have any religious bloc. They do not have any geopolitical bloc. Nothing. So they were leading on the Fulani control of the north, in wresting power in the south, so that they can only be given pets. And because the same systematic way where they don't allow Christians to get into any political office, to deny them, the way they exclude Igbo, that's why those excluded them. In the worst case, that they're killing them. This is the kind of stupidity northern Christians are not taking note of. That they are being wiped out and they are gone. Now they are studying it. Do you know the reason why Nigeria is where it is today? It's because they came to this after the Civil War. These people came. The Igbos are the southeastern Nigeria. The eastern region is known to be Igbo speaking place. The tribes there are all Igbos. From down to the coast, from Cross River to Bayelsa, it's all Igbos. Anyway, all the old people there is Igbo. They scattered them. They wanted to do the same thing they did in the north, to destroy the tribes and destroy them and lose their identity. They started doing it. But thankfully, the status is still maintaining the hegemony, the harmony. They're still maintaining it. It is that one that status is maintaining that's their problem. They want to also diversify it, scatter it, penetrate it, dilute it, and make it multi-ethnic, multi-religious, so that they can take over power from there and occupy those places. That is exactly what is going on, and people don't know. Now, instead of these northern Christians in the north to pivot towards Igbo, the Igbos are the only opposition that Fulani have in Nigeria. Yoruba is gone. Yoruba is gone. It's not good. It does not take all Yoruba. Yoruba is under their feet. Instead of them to work with Igbos, pivot towards Igbos, and even support the Biafra agitation movement. You see what Biafra agitation have done? You see all the lobbying they've done. You see what is going. They join together to every time Igbo, they are join them to attack them, including the stupid ones in the coastal states. That the only salvation they have, the only real opposition that these people have that can counter them is only the Igbos. Instead of them all to come down, pivot, they want the coastal state to pivot and understand the game these guys are playing to destroy everybody. That's why they are making them to come against Igbo, so that because Igbo is the only problem they have. Igbo is the only opposition that Fulani have. They have conquered everybody. Igbo is the only people that have not conquered. Instead of them to come and pivot towards Igbo and unite with them, they keep on singing the old story, the old game that Fulani taught them and using to destroy them. Igbo is this, Igbo is that, Igbo did this, Igbo is that, Igbo is that. They keep them blind for what they are doing to them to destroy them. They keep them blind. And every time they tell them to go to elections. Election to do what? To reinforce the constitution they wrote, to reinforce the political structure they created, to reinforce all that they were doing so they can remain in power. You need to beg them before you become anything in Nigeria, because they know they are locked down all the states. It's under their control. The structural system of politics. That is what they're doing. And they often have, some of them are not realizing it. If you see somebody from Edo State, you see somebody from Igbo this. You see people still in the northern Christian, they say talking Igbo this, Igbo that. People that are gone. The only hope you have, and the hope that is still existing for that Trump is today here in Nigeria doing this intervention is because of Igbos. It is because of this same Biafra people you want to say to kill. You want to kill that you don't want to hear Biafra. You become the Biafra. They are the one that went to Washington and lobby for this intervention you're seeing. How is it a curse that they curse you people? When you see your savior, you can't even know your savior. When you see your helper, you cannot know your savior. You put your head down to be killed, and you even fight the person who come to save you. Is it a curse? Now curse they curse you now. Eh?
Good day to our viewers all over the world, and welcome back to Local Journal. Nigerians already know the expansionist ideology of these people and what they are doing in Nigeria. We know their agenda, we know what they are planning to do, and it's high time Nigerians rise up to do the needful, because if Nigerians keep on sleeping the way they've been, honestly, it might be too late tomorrow. We need to wake up. We need to kind of sensitize our people about the agenda of these people. We need to kind of talk about it. We need to give publicity to this thing to ensure that it goes to a wider audience, and a wider audience get to know that, okay, this is what the agenda of these people are, and we need to be very, very intentional about it, because if we don't, of course, it might be too late. Nigeria belongs to every one of us, and if this country is taken away from you, of course, you won't have any other country to call your own again. There's no country you go to, you migrate or immigrate to today, that will become your main country. You're always going to be a second-class citizen in that country, even if you have a permanent residency permit or whatsoever. That is just it. And for us in this country, and for every Nigerian that still have that love for Nigeria, even though I know a whole lot of Nigerians who have wanted a division, or would have wanted the country to be divided into different regions, so that every region should kind of maintain their region. At this point where we are still one Nigeria, I believe we need to do everything to preserve that oneness. We need to do everything to preserve that one Nigeria, and to ensure that our ancestral land and our space and our position in the society in Nigeria is not taken away from us, and we are not turned into second-class fiddle in our own country. And that's the reason why Nigerians need to wake up and to ensure that their plans doesn't come to pass. This is my opinion. Drop what you think about this in the comment section, and if today is your first time to visit our channel, please kindly like, share and subscribe to our channel.